Are you sitting around entertaining an incredible idea, but it's stuck because you are spinning out in perfectionism and or procrastination? Today's podcast, we're going to talk about something I'm dubbing the 100/80 rule. And most of you are actually following the 80/100 rule. And making this tiny shift is going to change everything about what you are going to achieve in 2025. Stay tuned. Welcome to Your Food Business Success. This podcast is for early stage entrepreneurs in the packaged food industry ready to finally turn that delicious idea into reality. I'm your host, Sari Kimball. I have guided hundreds of food brand founders to success as an industry expert and business coach, and it's gotta be fun. In this podcast, I share with you mindset tools to become a true entrepreneur and run your business like a boss. Interviews with industry experts to help you understand the business you are actually in, and food founder journeys so you can learn what worked and didn't work and not feel so alone in your own journey. Now let's jump in. Welcome back to the podcast. So happy you are here with me today. If you're on YouTube, hello, welcome. I would love for you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps people to be able to find this podcast, and it, works with all the algorithms and things like that. If you're listening on a podcast platform, you can also rate and review there, and I really appreciate it. This week, I taught a follow-up class to our annual planning program. And it was kind of a coaching call, but I was using a concept that I learned from Dan Sullivan in Strategic Coach. And when I learned this, I was like, oh my gosh, right? Mind blowing. I have to share this with my Master Your Business folks, the 10X Mastermind. And I'd love to share it here with you because this is the key to actually making progress, to getting from idea to project that is being executed, that is being measured, that is getting real traction, right? Because that's what we want. Listen, ideas are cheap. When people are worried about somebody stealing their idea, I'm like, listen, that idea is going to require energy, effort, investment, everything I talked about last week, right? It's going to require so much more. And most people aren't willing to put that much energy and effort, especially in something that's not their idea and that they're not passionate about. So how do we actually get out of this idea phase, which is where I see and meet a lot of want to be founders, a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, or when you're growing and you're scaling, you're like, I need to do new programs. I need to get on Amazon. I need to get into more stores, right? All of these ideas that are going to help you start your business or grow your business, but many of them sit on the shelf for way too long because we are stuck in perfectionism, and because of that, we procrastinate. So the 80% rule, which I did a podcast, episode number 17, is all about using the 80% rule. It's this concept that 80% is good enough. That is the amount of effort we need to put in to still complete a project, but we only need to make it B minus work, which most of my people, if you're a perfectionist, you hate it when I say that. B minus is good enough to get it out there, to get it launched so you can start getting feedback, you can pivot, make new decisions. And oftentimes what happens is we get stuck in perfectionists where we need something to be 100%. And the reality is, no matter how long you spend on it, no matter how much you tweak it, it's still only going to be 80% because until you actually get the idea out there, we can't know what changes we need to make. Until you start getting into action, then things become clear on what, even if you could reach 100%, quote unquote, which is really like, I don't even know if it's possible. Like, how would you know your website is 100%? How would you know your formula is 100% until you put 80% work into it and then you see, right? Now, I want to be clear, this is not 80% done. This is completing the project, but at an 80% level. And so I was thinking about it because I love this concept that I learned from Dan Sullivan. But what I was thinking about is that we need to like make that a little bit more robust. I want you to be 100% committed to 80% in excellence in how you actually get the project done. And what I was thinking about it this morning, I'm like, actually, what I see is most people are 80% committed, so they're not all in, to producing 100% perfect execution. And if you think about it like that, like, A, the person, you're not fully committed and you're striving for 100%, which is impossible. Both of those together basically are going to guarantee that you stay stuck, that you stay in the idea phase and maybe like the spark, the excitement phase, but it never gets off the ground. And so I want you to think about it the other way. What if you were 100% committed to getting it done at 80% level? And you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, and this fits really nicely in here as well, because the reason why 80% is good enough is because we know that the 80-20 rule says that it's the last 20% of perfection that we're trying to go from 80 to 100, and it requires an incredibly disproportionate amount of time, energy, and resources, and you get diminishing returns. And so it's really important, like, go for the 80%. And then what he says is, like, this is where you would launch, right? So get your formula to 80%, get your website to 80%, get your emails to 80%, like whatever project you're working on, get your Amazon profile to 80%, like get it there. It's still done, but it's done with 80% energy. And then from there, if you need to refine it, do another 80% on it. And when you do that, you take it, like, let's say it's your process, your formula in the kitchen. We've been talking a lot about this with some of our members lately. We had one member who shared a mistake that she made because she didn't have a process in the kitchen and ended up they burned the slurry, and then there was a whole cascading consequences from that, and ended up having a lot of unusable product because it wasn't good. It was less than 80%. It definitely did not pass standards. So let's imagine you're like, I'm gonna get a process done. So what happens is we actually stay, if we're going to go for 100%, then it never gets over the finish line, right? Because how would you know it's 100%? But you just keep retweaking it and reworking it and thinking about it instead of being 100% committed to, I'm going to build out this process at an 80% level. I'm going to do B minus work. Then I'm going to try it. I'm actually going to go through it. And then this is where it would be worth putting in an additional 80%. So you take what you did and then you say, okay, let's go back and do another 80% pass on this. And what's interesting is when you actually do the math like that, it actually gets you to 96%. And so you usually, for things like manufacturing, it is a good idea to do that. Any kind of processes, good idea to review it, do a second pass at 80%. But there's a lot of things that really only need one, right? You can send that email when it's 80% good, when it's B minus work. Yes, it needs to, you want to read over it. You want to check for grammar and misspellings and things like that. Get some, do the 80% review, but don't sit in like, well, if I could just, there's like some perfect story I want to tell or some perfect image, instead of just like, no, let's get it out there. Let's go. Let's get feedback. Let's see, where do people click? Where do they not? I'm going to learn and grow. And then you're going to keep getting faster at this. and you're going to achieve more over time, which then gets you more progress and leads into more momentum. And now we're rolling, right? Now things are moving and we're going to want to stay, an object in motion stays in motion. So what I'm asking you to do, I'm kind of revisiting the B minus rule because that was a long time ago, episode 17. That was 4 years ago. And I like expanding it a little bit more. I like this concept of whatever idea you have, I want you to just get into action right away and say and map out like what would it take for me to get to an 80% of work here and complete it. Get to 80% level and then reevaluate it, right? Then see what you can test. Then see where you can launch it and get feedback. But people who sit, this happens with packaging, this happens with formulation, this happens with websites. Like, I know it's scary. You're putting yourself out there for people to judge you. Yes, that is hard. It's scary, but welcome to entrepreneurship. And so I'm going to ask you, like, for this coming year, what if you adopted, I am 100% committed in my business to doing at the level of 80% work. I want you to embrace this. I want it to be a concept that helps you get over your perfectionism, helps you move through procrastination faster and get into action. Procrastination is just a way of keeping us safe, right? And so is perfectionism. If it's not 100%, then I don't put it out there. And here's the thing. I've seen people stall and drag their feet on things. And until you get it out in the real world, let's just take packaging, for instance, you're not going to know, like there's always going to be changes that you're going to come and make. It's the way it rolls until you get it launched. And so I want this tool to be something that you're like 100/80. I'm 100% committed, going 80%. And let's drop the other way around. The 80/100 is what keeps you stuck in perfectionism and procrastination. And of course, if you want more support to really hold you accountable to that 100% commitment at the 80% level, then come and join us in Master Your Business. Come and join me in Food Business Success. You can also, for right now, when this comes out live, you can also get just the Fuel only membership. Everything is open right now. And if you have been stuck in perfectionism or procrastination, now is the time to make an investment. When you make an investment, you're going to be much more likely to follow through. That's part of commitment, right? Is that you jump in, you burn the boats. You're like, I am all in, I'm committed, and let's go. Let's go to 80%. All right, that's what I have for you today. Until next time, have an amazing week. The smartest thing you can do as an entrepreneur is to invest in a who to help you with the how, to speed up your journey and help you skip the line. When you are ready for more support and accountability to finally get this thing done, you can work with me in 2 ways. Get me all to yourself with one-on-one business coaching, or join Food Business Success, which includes membership inside Fuel, our community of food business founders that includes monthly live group coaching calls and so much more. It's one of my favorite places to hang out, and I would love to see you there. Go to foodbizsuccess.com to start your journey towards your own food business success.